Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Bible in 1 Year of the Preacher's Husband. Tonight we're going through Proverbs 25 and 26, and tomorrow we're going to go through Proverbs 27, 28, and 29 to conclude that section. Now, starting off in Proverbs, this is considered to be the Hezekiah collection. Verse 1 says, "These two are Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of King Hezekiah of Judah copied." Now, they copied these, and it's chapters 25 through 29 in completion. And that is the wise words of Solomon that were collected by the men of King Hezekiah. Now, King Hezekiah, we're going to read about him later on, particularly in 2 Kings chapter 18 through 20. And he was actually a godly king until very late in his life. But we'll learn about that later. So let's jump in. Chapter 25, verse 6 and 7 stood out to me. It says, "Don't boast about yourself before the king, and don't stand in the place of the great. For it is better for him to say to you, 'Come up here,' than to demote you in plain view of a noble." That's Proverbs 25, verse 6 and 7 of the CSB version here. And I really like this version in this particular instance, because basically it's talking about prideful self-promotion, and that's never a good thing. It's never a wise thing to do. Now, particularly in a king's court, though, everyone had their own special place. They had a specified order in which they would stand based on their rank in society and based on their, level, you would say, and their level of promotion, where they were, and so whether they were a noble, whether they were a prince, whether they were peasants, they would have a proper place. And this was true both in their court and also when they would sit and eat. If the king was present, they would have a place to go for. So this here is specifically referring to, you wouldn't want to go and put yourself in someone else's place and then find that the king comes in and says, "You're out of place. You need to go down and sit with the peasants. You don't belong here." But instead, be in your own place. It's a lot better for you to be back here with the peasants and the king come in and say, "Hey, you back there, you don't belong there. The peasants, come up here with us." Better to be promoted than to be demoted. And especially when it comes to prideful self-promotion. Don't promote yourself. Be promoted by others. The next one here is Proverbs 25, 11, and 12. Now this version here says, "A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. As an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold, so is a wide reprover to an obedient ear." Now, I really liked the CSB version a little better here, too. It's a little more easy to understand this section. It says, "A word spoken at the right time is like gold apples in silver settings. A wise correction to a receptive ear is like a gold ring or an ornament of gold." So a word spoken at the right time. There is a time and place to speak. Sometimes it's the right time to speak. Sometimes it's not the right time to speak. Sometimes we need to keep our mouth shut. And a wise correction to a receptive ear. To me, that means a lot of times people are not receptive to being corrected. They would rather just go on about their way and be foolish as they are. If you're trying to correct them and they're not receptive to that correcting, then you're just wasting your breath, and you're probably going to end up making an enemy as opposed to a friend and trying to be helpful. Making a wise correction as opposed to just correcting people when they're wrong, there's a big difference there. If they're receptive to being corrected, then your wise corrections can help them become a better person, a better Christian, a better follower of God. Here we are, Proverbs 26:20, and this says, "Without wood a fire goes out. Without gossip, a quarrel dies down." There's a lot of wisdom right there in that one verse. But this verse goes on to say in verse 21, it says, "As charcoal for embers and wood for fire, so is a quarrelsome person for kindling strife." That kind of reflects verse 20 as well. And verse 22 says, "A gossip's words are like choice food that goes down to one's innermost being. What are you eating? What are you eating? Is it going to make you sick, or is it going to make you happy and healthy? I hope this has touched you. If it has, click the like button and the subscribe button, and of course click the little jingle bell so you can be notified the next time I upload a video, which will be tomorrow. So I hope to see you then for another episode of the Bible in 1 Year with the Preacher's Husband. We'll see you.